Hey guys, Mr. NTE here. So just want to make a really quick video regarding who should you be selecting on your S-Rank selector, as well as the upcoming S-Rank selector that we're going to be getting on the 3rd of May, which is specifically, I'm talking about this right here. Yes, this right here, right? This right here. So we are going to be getting another S-Rank selector on the 3rd of May, 6 p.m. alongside with 10 pool, which means that anyone playing this game, whether you're a spender, whether you're going to be a free-to-play, you will be entitled to one S rank from the 50 pool, as well as a second S rank, both selectors, on the 3rd of May, right? So here is a video to tell you which unit should you be choosing for your selector in order to get the best possible, easiest start, right? I would say the easiest start, but a very important context is NTE doesn't really need you to have specific S ranks because the endgame content is very manageable as of this current moment, which is the trade, right? So if you go into the event right now, this is the train thingy, which is basically this game's Spiral Abyss like tower, where there will be a one-time clear, 10 stages, and a refreshable clear for the different stages there as well, right? So both of these endgame content, at least as of this moment, as long as you raise up your units levels, your traces, your arcs, like purely just from leveling up, you will eventually reach a point where you should be able to relatively easily beat out the endgame content. So no, you do not need a specific S rank just to beat endgame content, because the biggest thing you're going to be facing in the bottlenecks right now, they are your levels. Alright, you're level 40, right? You have like no good arcs, your gears are dog shit, right? And there's like no ability, nothing. So because of this right now, don't worry about it. So this selector thingy, it should only be considered for players who are wondering, you are a new player. Alright, this is your first time playing NTE. You have never played open world gacha games. You have never played gacha games period. And you want like the smoothest possible experience at the start. Because personally, I feel that having a smooth or like easier early game, it will help you enjoy the game more as compared to someone that like can get used to harder characters. It's a little bit like if you play Elden Ring, you could start as like samurai, right? You could start as like the warrior, right? Which is like easier compared to if you were to start as a wretch or like the prisoner, right? So it's purely just gonna be up to you how hard or how easy you want your early to mid game be, because by the actual end game, when everyone's gonna be at max level, you really won't tell any difference whatsoever, especially for a standard unit. So with all that being said, right, the number one highly most recommended, assuming you have no one, right, is gonna be this. I have already talked about this in my all unit guide, which I think it should be coming out either by today or tomorrow, whenever that comes out. This is essentially the support of the standard unit, because for every single gacha game, a support will tend to have the highest amount of like longevity compared to a DPS, especially if you're new to this genre and in overall gacha games. So what she does is she has really good grouping abilities, and grouping in NTE is incredibly important because the mobs that do not get grouped up, it will require you a significant amount of time to try to push them to one spot. And a lot of the times when you do like AoE or whatever, it will help you clear things a lot faster. So this skill is really good for grouping. And on top of that, she also has crowd control, which is called suppression, like it's airborne, but it doesn't work against bosses. And she has defense down as well as attack buff from her passive. So this is going to be increasing DOT damage, and this is going to be, okay, not this. This is going to be defense down, but this does not work against bosses, as well as the additional attack buff, right? So she is pretty much going to be a very universal character that you can pretty much just use for any main DPS that you want from now as well as in the future. So generally, if you do not have her, I will highly recommend getting her. The only problem with Sakiri right now is you can't run 2 Sakiris in both teams, because every single highest possible damage team, they tend to just go ahead and run Sakiri. So number one recommendation, if you do not have her, if you really, for whatever reason, if you hate her, right, for like, if you don't like the way she plays, you don't like her design, whatever it's gonna be, you technically can just get by with this unit called Hathor. So everybody should be getting one copy of this unit. She's free, A rank. She's also a attack buffer, so both her skill as well as ultimate, they buff your attack. But she lacks the grouping capabilities of Sakiri, which will mean that you would need to rely on another grouper to bring them together. Most of the time, you're gonna be using this with Jiuyuan if you do not have it, right? So just an alternative if you really do not want Sakiri, right? Okay, the next pick, aside from Sakiri, is honestly a toss-up between whichever you prefer. So this is gonna be if you're gonna be pulling for Nanali. If you are pulling for Nanali, I would recommend getting Jiuyuan, because at this moment she is going to be Nanali's best sub/burst DPS. Right, it's her best slot too, because she has insane grouping. She works with Bloom. She does all field damage. She can quick swap. Alright, she can quick swap. And if you were to just press and hold her basic, right, she will literally just stand there and let go of all the damage. So you do not compete field time with Nanali. So for example of like an all-field DPS or like an on-field DPS, right? If you take a look at one of our favorite units of all time, Mint. Alright. My chat wants me to use Mint because Mint is Mint, but Mint needs to be on-field to deal damage. So if Min is off-field, she actually gains like 0 utility because she doesn't really have a very nice grouping. She doesn't give you any attack buffs, she doesn't give you any like debuffs or whatever. Whereas for Jiuyuan, she does not need to be on-field, because you can just burst her skills, swap out, and all utility is going to be utilized because you already grouped up the enemies and dealt your AoE damage. And one reason why Jiuyuan is so good with Nanali is that if you played with Nanali before, right, you can see that she will actually kind of hit and disperse the enemy with her skill. It's like a big punch and then it will like leave an impact and a boom, it will scatter a little bit. So like if you do have Jiuyuan to group them back up, it is gonna make your experience like a lot smoother. So that is why Jiuyuan is gonna be really recommended if you are committed to using Nanali and you can see yourself using her for like the foreseeable future, right? If you do not want to play Nanali, I would say that you could technically still run her purely just as a grouper from her skill, but the utility is not gonna be as important. Also very nice art. Her utility is not gonna be as important because her other usage is that she has this additional debuff that sort of counts like a DOT, but it's not really a DOT. So this is a damage over time, but it does not get affected by any specific DOT elements. It is just a bit of like an additional damage. So if you don't really want to run Nanali and you don't really want to run Bloom, her only usage will pretty much just be to group them up together and just play her as a raw off-field DPS with slightly lower synergy, right? So on the other hand, this unit right here called Daffodill, I was actually gonna choose her for my selector, but because the game loves a relatable free-to-play player that doesn't spend money, the game actually doesn't give me Daffodill. She is going to be really good for boss fights, because her entire usage is to deal extremely high toughness bar damage, right? Toughness bar damage. The cool thing about Daffodill is that if you were to swap her after getting these 2 stacks of Phantom Step, so you cast your ultimate, you swap into another unit, swapping back in with Daffodill to perform a parry will give you this additional effect where it can literally regenerate you, your intro, your Asper cycle, as well as your ultimate energy. So theoretically speaking, Daffodill has infinite ultimate uptime, because if you continuously parry with this shit, her ultimate will instantly regenerate. So you can kind of just spam this shit as long as you can keep doing this Phantom Step for the additional parries and everything else, right? So if you are gonna be using Daffodill up against boss fights, anyone that needs you to do toughness bar damage, right? Any boss that hits you a lot and you wanna, like the one that has the circle lined up and you can parry, she's gonna be really good. And in fact, even if they do not parry that much, her single target toughness bar damage is also the current highest in the entire game. And on top of that, we also already know for a fact, okay, maybe not for a fact, but 99.999% chance, they are gonna be releasing Lacrimosa in version 1.1. So Lacrimosa is a Chaos, right, the Dark Element main DPS, which means that when Lacrimosa comes out, there's a very, very high likelihood you are probably going to be running Daffodill alongside with Lacrimosa. So for players who are going to be skipping Nanadi, right, you're going to be skipping, you want to pull for Lacrimosa, she's the bad girl that transforms into a pet, and she does like chaos damage, you can consider getting Daffodill instead, right? So that will be my recommendations for number 1, Sakiri, and depending if you have Jiu Yuan, alright, if you want to pull Nadi or don't want to pull Nadi, you can get these two. Okay, for these 3 units, it's not like they are bad, it is just more so that their early game usage is not gonna be as important when it comes to the other 3. It is more so like opportunity cost, right? So this is a love, peace, happiness, no war. It's purely just for information. It is that you can't really get as much value in the early to mid game for your early game progression. Because like I mentioned, by the time you reach late game, right, when you reach end game, when you reach level 80, your gold arcs, right, gold gears, everything, when you get everything maxed out, every single one of these units can be viable for endgame. It is not that they are better or worse, it is just to give you the smoothest possible experience at the start. So with that being said, Fadia is essentially this game's quote-unquote tank. So she has the ability to she essentially has the ability to cast a Fu Xuan. Alright, so her ability is a Fu Xuan, where she does a damage split, right? Redirects a portion of damage. So exactly like how Fu Xuan works, if you use her as a support, you don't even need to be on field. As long as you swap into an on-field DPS and you take damage, Fadia will split that damage with you. So she is kind of like the definition of a wheelchair. Okay, like if you guys play Online Enfield, Ember, right? She is pretty much the wheelchair unit to make you, especially if you can't really know how to dodge and if you don't really know how to like parry and you keep taking hits, she will make your life a lot more comfortable. Right? So that is basically like her number 1 utility. Her skill has this, it's like Torn Mail if you play League of Legends. So if somebody hits you when Fadia is on field, they will also take damage. But the unfortunate thing is, this will leave when Fadia leaves combat. So if you leave combat, this thing kind of goes away, which is a little bit unfortunate. And the ultimate is just another enhanced state. She will heal herself a little bit and deal damage. But this ultimate state is not the main reason why you want to consider her. Generally speaking, it is not so much that she's bad, it's just that her usage is more so tied towards your survivability, right? But as all elitists has once said, why sustain when you can just dodge? Why build vigor when you can just dodge? Why get shields when you can just dodge, right? So that is why, like, generally speaking, if you can dodge damage, you will not gain a lot of views with Fadia. Alright, and I would say personally, even as an Unk, right, and my chat can attest, my open world, my QTE reactions, it is nowhere near like young people nowadays. I still get by fairly okayly in the overworld so far, as well as to a certain extent endgame content. It is not the damage that I'm receiving, it is more so the damage that I can dish out. So I don't think this game's survival threat as of this moment is that high. As long as you can deal enough, it's gonna be okay, which is why Fadia is gonna be at this position over here, right? Okay, I'm gonna save Hathor for last, because I know a lot of people are probably talking about Hathor. Okay, I wanna talk about bro first. Okay, there was this meme that I posted on my Twitter, which is this, right? This right here, it is not to say we are gonna be getting a wheelchair vehicle, which you could, by the way. There is a wheelchair vehicle in NTE, but the reason why bro is on a wheelchair is because in CN, he is known as the wheelchair DPS. He is the actual 轮椅, because Baicang is so brain dead to play that you don't really need to think what you're thinking about when it comes to optimal rotations, because his entire mechanic is you spam dodge. You spam dodge and you attack. Dodge, attack, dodge, attack, dodge, attack, and that's all you do, right? So it is really friendly. If you don't want to think about any combos, any Ezra cycle, anything else, you just spam, and you do everything. The downside for this is your stamina, when you spam dodge, is gonna run eventually. So you do need to have a little bit of a cooldown, like for example, like just stop moving for a while, and then you can resume again. And also because of the way that he's being played as like a wheelchair, you don't really optimize his damage as high as others. But I'm pretty sure there are also like insane Baicang mains, like rotations for like single target. Like when you use your AoE, when you use your single target, or when you use your self-sustain, you can definitely minimize this a little bit more. But the general usage right now for him is that he's a wheelchair DPS, right? It is very easy to use him. Just spam everything and then he'll get the job done over and over with, right? And also, as of this moment, The scary thing to get Baicang is that his best in slot right now is with Daffodill. So the Baicang team right now is gonna be Baicang, Daffodill. You could run Sakiri, you could run Hathor, and then you run like either Adler or like another or you could run Fadia as well. But because Lacrimosa is gonna be coming out next patch, maybe, potentially, maybe, most likely, I think they released at the Dream Market, right? So like when Lacrimosa comes out and you split up your Daffodill with your Lacrimosa, then Baicang is gonna be a little bit homeless because he is a true and true main DPS. So if your Daffodill is going with Lacrimosa and your Jovian is going with Nanadi, then we don't really have a third team as of this moment. So there will be something to consider if you are somebody that wants to go and get like other main DPSs for your consideration, right? So that is pretty much gonna be that. One last unit. Okay. Hathor, she honestly is a very, very strong unit. Exceptionally strong, right? For two main reasons. Right? The number one reason why she's really, really strong is that she's also very easy to use, just like Baicang. So her entire mechanic is that, you know how Yixuan works in Zenless Zone 0? Except that she is like a easier version of Yixuan. So you just press and hold your skill. She will go into this stance where she'll crouch and she will take damage, right? So if you get hit or whatever, you'll gain this thing called express delivery power, which is like the little feathers you can see on top. So every single time you get hit, you'll gain this. And then you let go of a skill to do a big damage, cast your ultimate, and then based on the amount of stacks you had before ultimate, you can then do more damage. Then once you cast ultimate, you press the skill, that's it. So press and hold to parry, cast out, press skill to do damage. So she is a very, very straightforward like burst DPS. She is not really meant to play on the field because once her skill and ultimate on cooldown, just wait, right? So I would say if you want to play Hathor, her damage is definitely there. It is just that her element right now is a little bit lagging because the only combination that you realistically want to get is like Remora, because Remora has the time slow for you the enemies to move slower as well as like lower attack speed, but it is gonna be slightly less impactful compared to Blossom because Blossom is gonna be giving you the vital buds which will do a lot of damage. You could consider running Charge, so you use Remora as like the time slow because when you slow down time, your Vita buds can still do damage normally. So you could run something like a Hathor, Nanali, Sakiri, and one last slot, right? Which is usually going to be your MC, because MC gives you the additional Esper charge cycles. If you do this combo, so essentially you replace Jovian with Hathor for Nanali, it's viable. But your damage ceiling will be a little bit lower, because Jovian, her ability is that she can let your Esper charge the cycle. It stacks up to 6 instead of 3, so it doubles. So purely in terms of damage, Jovian's, because of the fact that your this thing right here, right, your Blossom, it will go to 6. So it's higher damage. But if you just don't really care about the damage that much, you could just consider getting Hathor, running her with Nanadi for now. And in the future, if they open up another Lakshana sub-DPS, or like a Lakshana main DPS, or support, then you can definitely see play with Yixuan. Because her role is pretty much like Jovian, but for Lakshana. But she doesn't have as good of a grouping ability, so you can't really make use of her as well, except that you just stay in a circle and you let the enemies come to you for to deal the highest amount of damage, right? So that is pretty much my recommendations. As of this point, before we end this video, I'll just give my personal goal, or the way that I'm gonna be managing my selectors as a free-to-play player, right? So if you can take a look at my account right now, this is going to be a 100% free-to-play account. We did not spend a single dollar on this game. We are currently already at level 24. We are about to proceed through the main story. My personal decision on my free-to-play account, number one, is because the game was fortunate enough to give me Daffodill. My first pick is just gonna be Sakiri. Because Sakiri is gonna be a unit that you can kind of just use anywhere, and you don't have to worry about the restrictions that much. My second selector, when 3rd of May comes, I am gonna wait and see how strong my Nanali team is gonna be. Because for endgame content, whether or not you use Jovian, or whether or not you use your Hathor, you are still gonna be able to clear with Nanali. And MrPokke is not a new player for NTE, because I have played this game like so many times for like all the different CPTs. I don't really need my highest possible damage with Jovian, So I might just pick Hathor to open up my team building options in the future if they get a Lakshana DPS. Because my main concern right now with Jiuyuan, right, is that if they ever were to release another unit that can fill this role, I would be a little bit of a restrictive environment, since not only is my Anima main DPS, I'm gonna be able to get Sakiri, and I already got Daffodill. So if I pick Jiuyuan and they release another Jiuyuan in that slot, I'll have 3 Anima units, which I would say is like a little bit too much. So if I do get Hathor for me, I might not do the highest possible amount of damage with Nanadi, but in the future, if they were to release like another Sub-DPS for my Nanadi, I can just get it. Then at least I only have a single Lakshana DPS unit, so if they do develop more Lakshanas in the future, I can build my team a little bit easier. And also, personally speaking, this is completely biased. I am a little bit of an ass guy. And, you know. Yeah, I'm not even kidding, right? So, end of the day, you can pick whoever you want, what your design is gonna be. Before we end off this video, I just wanna say that this unit most likely will see even higher uses when we get out Lacrimosa. So if you do not have Daffodill, I think if I was greedy and stupid, I would actually get her before Sakiri, because Daffodill gives you break damage, which I think is a little bit hard to find a replacement for. Whereas for Sakiri, you technically can give her a downgrade with the toss of Hanyo. Alright, and speaking of grouping, right, I already have Sakiri to be my grouper, which means that my Jiuyuan's grouping utility is not going to be fully maximized anyways, right? So that is going to be my personal way. I'm going to be picking this right now. I'm not going to wait anymore. Boom, done. So this is going to be Sakiri. And then on the 3rd of May...
Hey, I look away for one moment, and you're giving me trouble again.
Thank you. That is very, very cool, right? So I'll be waiting for the 3rd of May to pick up my next letter. Oh, one more thing before I end off this video. If you really do end up getting dupes, it's fine. Because dupes in this game are actually pretty fucking good. Daffodill has really good dupes. Sakiri has really good dupes. Hathor has really good dupes. Especially her energy regeneration is a little bit of a problem. Jiuyuan has pretty decent dupes. So don't worry about it if you already spent and you get a dupe in the future. For me, because I am a free to play, I don't want to wait anymore, because you can only ever get standard S ranks from the standard banner, and the next S rank I'm going to be getting is like in 90 pools, right? Theoretically, all the way out to 90 pools. And the standard pool economy right now is like a little bit slow. So, yeah, because you'll never ever lose 50-50s, right? There's no 50-50, right? So if you found this video helpful, smash that like and subscribe button, or leave a comment. Word of the day is going to be ASGuy. Join Twitch, join Discord, use code BOYO, all the best. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.